Designing websites using Flexbox is the best way forward. The reason being, your websites that you're going to design are going to load faster, you've got less code, and also you can build complex layouts. Now in Divi, there is no way of actually using Flexbox. You have to do everything manually. But of course, most of us have the Divi license. So I'm going to show you how you can start designing your websites using Flexbox in Divi. Okay, so over here, I have a page that I'm just going to create. I'm just going to name it Flex and use the Divi builder. I'm going to build this from scratch. And let's start by designing this website the old way. So let's say we wanted 2 items in 2 columns. This is how we would do it. I would select that. And in this column, let's say I want to add some text. I could do that. And my text goes in here. On the right here, let's say I want to add an image. I will just do that. And my image goes in here. But the problem is, at the moment, we have 2 columns. And this is adding a bit of extra code onto our website. So let's just add our image here quickly. So let's go with that. Upload image. And then save. So using Flexbox, we can do this exactly the same, but with different parameters. Now, let me show you how to do that. So first of all, I'm going to click here on this plus button and add a single column. Okay. So in this column, we're going to add a text module, just like what we did. And below this, we're going to add an image module. So notice that I haven't added 2 columns. This is just one single column. So I'm going to click here on this plus button and add an image. Select it. And this is the same image I'm going to use. I'm going to click over here. In fact, you know what? Let me use a different image so that we can see that we're working on 2 different things. Okay, excellent. So at the moment, you may be thinking, okay, well, this doesn't look great because all we have is just text on the top and the image on the bottom. But here's where things get exciting. If I click here on this icon to go into my row settings. In fact, I'm going to snap this over to the left. What I can do now is I can go into this column right here like that. Come over here to advanced, custom CSS. So what we need to do now is to start adding our code. So what you need to do to activate Flexbox is to add our code. Now, what I've done ahead of time is I've created a page here which has all my code that I need to implement Flexbox. I will share this link as well. So since we need display flex, I'm going to come over here and copy that. And then I'm just going to paste it here. This just saves me a lot of typing and, so it just makes things easier for me. Okay. So as soon as I've done that, notice what happens. This now has gone side by side. Let me just save that. Okay. It's gone side by side, just like what it is here on the top. But the difference is here we have 2 columns. Let me show you. Column 1, column 2. And on the bottom here, if I click on this gear icon, we only have 1 column. So we've actually reduced the code for the extra column here on our page, which is fantastic. But that's not the only thing that we can do with Flexbox. We can also design complex layouts. But before we do that, let me just show you how easy it is to add or to design this and make it mobile friendly. So to make this mobile friendly, again, I'm going to click on this gear icon. I'm going to come over here to the column. So this is our main container. Come over here to advanced, custom CSS. So now I can go to this little icon here and go into the tablet. So we notice now here on the top, things are working okay. That's fine. But here now things don't look great because these are still side by side and they're squished together, right? So we want to change that. So the code we need is flex direction, and this needs to be set to column. So I'm just going to copy that, come over here, paste my flex direction. And just like that, now my text is on the top and the image here is on the bottom. Easy. But here's where things get more exciting. Now, in this example here, it's not easy to just swap this, right? But over here, let me show you how easy it is. If we need our image here to be on the top, I'm going to come over here. So I can say flex direction column reverse, copy that, come back over here, paste that. So now let me get rid of the top one. But before I do that, I'm going to need my display flex. So I'm going to come over here. So having this display flex is very, very important. This is what allows everything to act accordingly. So now I have my image here on the top and the text on the bottom. And I can also do the same over here to this mobile phone device. So let's say we want to redesign our layout here on the bottom to make it more specific in terms of the sizes of the item that we need to design. So here's what we can do. I'm going to come over here, go into my column. In fact, while I'm on my row settings, I'm going to come over here to design, and then I'm going to come over here to sizing. So what we need to do now is to make our maximum width 100%. So what we're going to use is what is known as column wrap. So I'm going to go ahead now and save that. So now we can see that our space here is way too close. So we can fix that easily by coming over here, clicking on my row settings. So make sure if you're going to be making any changes to your container, it needs to be this container here, this column, because this is what has everything in it. Okay, so I'm going to click here and then come over here to advanced, custom CSS, and this is where I need to add my code. So I want a bit of space between the image here and the text. So I'm going to come over here, and what I need is my column gap, and here it is. So my column gap, I'm going to copy that, come back over here, and I'm just going to paste it. Now notice that now we have spacing over here. So I can increase this to whatever I want. I can set this to, let's say, 60, and you can see the gap is even wider, but I want to leave it at 20. So now let's go ahead and save. So if I need to resize anything here, all I need to do now is to come over here, click on this gear icon, go to design, and then I'm going to go to sizing. So since our main container is 100%, so we can set this to our maximum width. For our width here, and let's set this to about, let's say, 38%. So right away, you can see this is now taking on 38%, and our image here has gone bigger. I can play around with this. Maybe I want it at maybe 36 or even 40. Let's do 40. There we go. So now I have 40 here, and the rest here is 60%. But I can go in and manually do that. I'm going to save that, come over here to the image, click on this gear icon, go to sizing, and let's set this to 60. And now you can see I've manually added my 60 in here, and we have our 40 in there. Okay, so just by doing that, I can use percentages to resize everything that I need to add in here. But here's the thing. If I start adding in more modules here, you're going to notice something a bit weird. So let's go ahead and let's duplicate this. Or you can even add a button. So let's go ahead and duplicate this. So you notice now, because my layout is set to column, so all these now are going to be added in this manner. But the cool thing is I can go in and resize these to exactly the size I want. So let's say I want to set this to a smaller width. I can go sizing and bring this down to, let's say, 30. And now it's a bit smaller. I can do the same here. I know the difference is slight, but you can see here that these are not the same. These are different sizes. And then I can also set my size here to, let's say, 30. Let's go to design, sizing, set this to 30. Okay, so that's looking great. And that's what this looks like on my desktop. But let's say we want these two columns and an image below on my, let's say, tablet. Here's what we can do. I'm going to click over here, go back, go to advanced, custom CSS. And this is where now I can go to my tablet and notice what happens. I have my image here on the bottom, and that's because we have this column reverse, and I have my text here on the bottom. So let's say I get rid of that. You notice now that the image here is way too small, and I have these two columns here. So the idea now is I need to go in and specify 50% here, 50% here, 100% there. And this is how we're going to get these two to be on the top and then the image on the bottom. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so I'm going to go back. So over here, I can click on this gear icon, go to design, sizing. So over here, we've got 30%. I can now click on this pencil icon, go over here to my tablet, and let's set this to, let's say 48. So I'm just going to copy that because I'm going to need that on the other image. So I'm going to save that. Now let's go on to this one, design, sizing. I'm going to do the same. Save that. And then finally on this image now, we're going to come over here to design, sizing. I'm going to click here on this little icon, go to my tablet. And this time we're going to set this to 100%. So when we take a look here, we notice that they're still in the same line. So to fix that, I'm just going to save this. Okay, so now we have 48, 48. and 100%. But because we haven't wrapped it, this is not going below. So let me show you how to fix that. I'm going to come over here, go to my column structure, and then over here on the advanced, I'm going to go to custom CSS and come over here to the tablet. So right now things are normal, and as you can see, things are squashed together. So what I need to do now is I need to go to Flex Wrap. I'm going to copy that so that I can wrap everything. So everything becomes in. So everything is now inside our container. So now I can come over here and paste it. And I want you to notice what happens. We have our text here and our image on the bottom. I think I might have not added my code in here so that it comes on the top. Let's go ahead and fix that. I'm going to save that. And all I need to do is to come over here, go to design, sizing, and I just want to make sure that I'm in the right place. So it needs to be on the tablet here at 48%. And just like that, now you can see that we have 2 columns here on the top and 1 big image on the bottom. This will be very, very difficult to achieve if we're trying to do this using columns to come up with mobile device ready design sites in Divi. Okay, so if you want to change this around, maybe you want the image here to be smaller. It's pretty much up to you. You can just play around with the percentages here, and that will change the layout. So on the mobile device, let's say we want the text to be one on top of the other and then the image on the bottom. Well, that's easy. All I have to do is to come over here to my text, which is right here. And you can see these are on top of each other and the image is right here on the bottom. Now, if you want the image on the top, well, again, that's easy. Let's save that. All we need to do is to, again, come over here, go into our column, advanced, custom CSS, and I can just do a reverse. So let me just add my code in here. So first of all, I'm going to need my display flex. I'm going to need my wrap. I'm going to paste it in here. And you can see now things are pretty much in order. Finally, all I need to do is to add my reverse. And it's the column reverse I need. Paste it like that. And now my image is on the top and my content here is on the bottom. And when you go to the tablet, we have our columns here for our text. We have our image here on the bottom, and on the desktop, everything is all side by side. And again, I need to emphasize this. This is all happening in this column, and that is how we are controlling everything right here in one column. There was no use of now, if I wanted to do what I've done here to make sure that my devices look a specific way, I could not achieve this with the normal way Divi works. It's in fact, it's impossible. You couldn't do all the custom designs that I was doing, all the custom layouts using the normal way of using Divi. So this just gives us a specific structure, which is pretty much 3 columns, or it gives us 4, and you're just stuck with those 4. It's very difficult to go in now and say, okay, I want this to be 50% and this one 25%, 25%. But in the mobile view, I want it to be this or that. It's almost impossible. And this is why the Flexbox way of dealing with things is much, much, much easier. Okay, let's try something different here. And by the way, you can apply this way of designing with pretty much any type of modules. Now let's do another example. So I'm going to come over here, click on this plus button, go to my regular. And again, I start off with a single column. And in here, I'm going to add a blurb like that. So let's start off by adding our logo. In fact, we need a logo, not an image. I'm going to come over here and say use logo. And let's start off with, say, this one here. We want everything centered. So let's go ahead and do that. Great. So I'm not going to do too many customizations here. I'm just going to do just a few things, and then we're going to go ahead and use Flexbox. So to make things a bit different, we don't want to confuse ourselves with what we have here on the top. I'm just going to come over here to the background and add a background color just like that. Okay, so you can see here we have a single column. Again, what we're going to do is to make this 100% and then 80%. So I'm going to come over here to design, spacing, sizing. Here, we're going to set this to 100% like that, and then save. So to add more of these, all I have to do is to duplicate this like that. So it's one on top of the other, but all these are in a single column. And let me show you where they are. I'm going to come over here, and this is the column. So think of this as the main container. Again, I'm going to click on this gear icon, and then I need to lay these out correctly. At the moment, they're vertical. I need them to go sideways. So we need the direction. So I'm going to come over here to advanced, custom CSS. And remember, the first thing we need to do is to activate Flexbox. So I'm going to come over here, copy Flexbox, and paste it like that. Great. So right away, you can see that now they're going in a straight line. But if you want, you can go ahead and define this by saying flex direction column or flex direction row. Okay. So notice what happens when I say column. I'm going to come over here. So this is hard coding it. We are back now to where we were, but that's because I hard coded this. Okay. Now I want to show you some of the other features as well. So you can see what is happening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this for now and then change the icons so you can see what is happening. So for this icon here, I'm going to go to that and let's change this icon to this one. And we may even need to change the color. So let's go ahead and change the color and let's go with that. Okay, great. And then finally, let's go ahead and do the same. Change the icon. Okay, let's go with that. And let's change the color as well. Okay, great. So now that we have our different colors. So first of all, when you take a look at this, we want to add some spacing in between. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to click here on my main container, come over here to advanced, custom CSS. And remember what we used here was the gap. So we want our column gap, copy that. And I'm going to set it to 20. I know it's not visible, but here that has been added. So just to double check, let's put something ridiculous like 50. And you can see now that there's more space between that. Okay, so let's leave this at 20. And what I can also do while I have this set, let's go over here to our column. I can now use row reverse. If I copy that, notice what happens when I paste this. Now, this is all the way to the left because I've just reversed everything. And this is going the opposite direction. So this is the easiest way you can go in, because imagine if you had, let's say, our normal columns inside our main container, we would need to move things manually. But for this, it's just one simple line of code, and this has moved. If I get out of that, you can see now this has gone there to the left, and this is now gone over here to the right. So fantastic. Next, let's take a look here and see how we can lay this out in, say, for example, mobile device. So again, if I click over here, go to design. In fact, I need to go to advanced, custom CSS. So I'm just going to copy all this because I'm going to need it on the next one. So let's go to our tablet. So for our tablets, you can see that things are not looking great. Things are very, very close together. So I can go in and paste this. But what I need to do now is to specify how the layout is going to be. So I'm going to come over here. And then I'm going to say flex direction column. This is what we need. Copy that, come over here. And these are the decisions that you're making as you're designing. So you can see now everything is column and it's one on top of the other. If you need to reverse that, you can just go to column reverse and then you can have the one you want on the top. Let's go ahead and do that. And remember, we need display flex because this is what activates our Flexbox. Paste it like that. And now we have this on the top, this one here on the bottom, and so on. If you want gaps between all this, again, we can use our column gap. We'll come over here. Where is it? Column gap. Copy that. I'm going to paste it. Let's add a bit more. And there we go. Okay. Now let's do one more example. And this one here, again, is quite difficult to achieve if you are just using the normal way of designing with Divi. So I'm going to click this plus button, add a regular section, and we are going to add a single column. And in the left, I'm going to add a call to action, or let's just add text. Let's keep things simple. I'm going to save that. Now over here to the right, let's add an image like that. Okay, great. So I'm sure now you've got the hang of things. First thing we need to do, display flex. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to save this and then go into our main columns. Go into that, advanced, custom CSS. And then I'm going to paste in my main element. Now everything is side by side, which is fantastic. But what if we want this text to be centered? We don't want it stuck at the top, but we want it centered. But before we do that, why don't we set this up to specific sizes. So it's 50-50. Okay, so we need to hand code this. But before we do that, let's save that. And in our row settings, I'm going to set this to 100%. Now, what would be easier as well is to go in and set this as a specific amount in your presets. So that would save you a lot of time than going in every single time and pasting it. Okay, so again, I'm going to add my image. In fact, I'm going to go with this one this time. Okay, so here's my image. And in here, I'm going to set this at 50%. Or let's go with 48. Like that. Come over here to my text, sizing, set this to 48. And now everything is pretty much equal size. So let's say we want our text here to be centered right here on the bottom. Again, the normal way, or what you're tempted to do, is to go in and add some padding on the top. So let me just show you what you would do. You'd come over here, you go to, let's say, for example, spacing, and then you start adding your padding to the top like that, and then everything becomes centered. But again, this is not the correct way of doing it because it's not consistent throughout the whole design. So all you'd need to do is to come over here to advanced. Now notice that I'm in my text settings, okay? I'm no longer in the main container. So Flexbox also works on our individual modules. So what I need to do is to come over here, advanced, custom CSS, main element. So first things first, display flex. I'm gonna copy that and then align. So here we go. Align item center. I'm going to copy that, paste that, and now it's aligned center, just like that. Okay. So as you can see, Flexbox is very, very, very powerful. I am going to be doing a lot more tutorials on Flexbox. In fact, I may even put a course together that shows you or teaches you how to use Flexbox, because this is the future of web design. And at the moment, Divi 5 is not going to have Flexbox integrated into the actual builder. So it's going to be a very long time before we start using Flexbox in the actual builder. I may be wrong, but I'm sure in the last announcements, Divi 5 is pretty much just updating all the code, but there's not going to be major features added to it. It's going to be maybe Divi 6. So in the meantime, this is how we can use Flexbox. Now, as I mentioned, things can be easier here with the code that I created. I'm going to share this link so that you can just copy the code and paste it over. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Is this the way to design? Is this the way forward? Is it easy? Is it easier to implement? I want to know in the comments box below. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.